Welcome to another episode of What's Your Story? Tonight we are sitting down with Sommelier, mother, friend, sister, daughter, Betsy Ross, who owns the Wine House on Main Street in Kennebunk. So welcome to our show.
Thank you so much.
We usually start, and I'm trying not to laugh because I met Betsy, when did I meet you? Last year, year before?
2 years,
2 years ago.
Yes.
So, and I just love her face. She's always so bright and sunny. So anyway.
Thank you.
We usually start our story by asking people where they grew up, school, things like that.
Sure. So I grew up in Western Massachusetts in a town called Belchertown. That's where I went to elementary school. Then we moved to Wilbraham, Massachusetts, the home of Friendly's Ice Cream. That's our claim to fame.
Lovely.
And then, went through my high school years there and then ended up at UMass Amherst for college. So stayed in Western Mass, my little Western Mass bubble, which I think then made me want to branch out, and I haven't stopped.
So what did you major in when you went to school?
I was a biology major.
Major.
I'm a total science nerd. I loved human biology. I loved chemistry, anything sciencey. I was not a creative person or an artist like my mother or a writer. I just was very much into science.
Wow.
It was super fun, and I thought that I wanted to do something in the healthcare field. I actually went to massage therapy school for a year and a half, thinking I wanted to do wellness and body work. But what massage school taught me, many wonderful things, I don't like to touch people.
Oh,
yeah. So
comes with a job.
But during that time, I was working in restaurants and learning wine and learning food service and really finding this place. I love food. I love hospitality. I love making people's day in the moment.
You can definitely tell.
Yeah.
You can definitely tell because you do.
Yeah, thank you. And then, wine kind of came into the picture that way.
Yeah.
So
when we say the word sommelier, like most people will say, what is that?
Yeah.
So how did that all come to be?
Yeah. So it's a funny story. I always say, never say no to your mother. Because I was working in restaurants, as mentioned, and kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do, where I wanted to go. And my mom kept saying, well, you're good at this. You should become a sommelier.
Yeah.
I said, what the heck? That sounds like the most pretentious word. That sounds awful. And even my initial trainings in wine, it was, here's Chardonnay, here's Pinot Noir, here's this. Oh, you don't know that Vouvray is Chenin Blanc? And I was like, I don't even understand what those words mean.
Yeah.
It was very scary to me, actually. And then fast forward, I had the opportunity to move to San Francisco. And now you're living amongst these wine growers. You're living amongst the vineyards. So just for fun, would go to the vineyards and then meet the people behind it and totally fell in love with their stories.
Right.
I bought so much wine because I'm like, oh my gosh, I love this. And I didn't love it because it tasted good. I didn't love it because it was the perfect pairing. I loved it because I love the people.
Yeah.
And so I found that connection where I just wanted to start telling these people's stories. And you do it through wine. And I sort of had a different approach that way. And just stuck with it. And then was fortunate to travel and meet more people and hear more stories and just to be able to go ahead and, repeat to the world, if you will, what these people are doing. It's fascinating to me. So the word sommelier is really simple. It's a wine waiter. Somebody in the restaurant, they help you select your wine. You tell them what you're ordering. Obviously, it's a French word. I think there's some pretentious tones around that word, and I think sometimes people live up to that, and I'm not that at all. People can really get into wine and talk vintages and what was good and all this. That's important for some. It's not for me. What's important to me is to really, again, take these stories and really get basic with it and connect with it in a way that's approachable.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be drunk. It's
not
meant to kind of sit and overanalyze. It's meant to be enjoyed, and I truly believe that.
Yeah.
So the word sommelier, it is what it is, and I am a certified sommelier, and I'm very proud of that. But I like to say I'm just, a fellow wine advocate.
I love to hear that. And I love to hear the fact that you're trying to get people's story out there because they work so hard.
Yes.
We get to enjoy the fruit of the labor.
Yes.
Pardon the pun. But I think it's we don't know what goes into all of that. We watch movies or, we might watch a documentary here or there, but, a lot of us think of Lucille Ball, stomping on the grapes and things like that. But it's, to go in and probably with your biology and chemistry background, you're seeing the soil and all of those things. So you understand where they're coming from when they're...
Yes, absolutely. And it's interesting because I think there's a disconnect around wine where, we think of it as indulging. And yes, it can be that. And we just think it's this thing in the glass. We drink it, we enjoy it. But what you just said, people don't understand all that goes into it. So I was fortunate to work harvest in California. I worked a harvest in France, in the Rhone Valley. And it is hard. I had people say to me, oh my gosh, what a dream, you're going to France to work harvest. And there were days where I was like, are we done yet? It's 5 o'clock in the morning. Oh my gosh, can I go back to Paris to my hotel room? Like, this is hard work. Yeah. And after physically experiencing all that, I never looked at wine the same.
Yeah.
I don't take advantage of it in the same way. I'm like, my gosh, so much work goes into that we should all be appreciating what it is and not just poo-pooing because of the year or the area or what was good, what wasn't.
Right.
People can make incredible things in bad vintages.
Yep.
And people can also make not so great things in great vintages. So it's all relevant.
Yeah. And you don't think about the weather having an impact or, some of the things that, a blight will come through or what do they call it? There's a term for it when your harvest gets all contaminated or there's definitely things like that.
So many things,
the California fires, for instance, things like that would turn that particular year very smoky, or if they didn't get it out of there. So, or a freeze, a frost comes through,
fires.
So we just sort of take it for granted that bottle's going to be at the market or at your store. Yeah. We're going to walk in and here it is.
Well, also too, when those devastating conditions happen, that is their livelihood. Like that whole crop, that whole thing, they've been working all year for that, and that is it. Right? So then the next year, maybe the prices go up, and they have, and we've seen that, and but they have to make up for it because it's all they do. This is their life's blood, So it's very multifaceted, which is why I'm fascinated by it, and I love it, and there's so much to tell about it that it's about the whole picture and not just the wine.
That's great.
I did take a course, a sommelier course, to kind of fill in the blanks. I just wanted to get my wine knowledge kind of consecutive. And then, of course, back to Never Say No to Your Mother, I became a sommelier.
So how long is that course?
So the one I took was about 3 months, and that was in California. That being said, there is no real standard, which I think has been kind of an interesting part in this, not career, but in this profession at the moment. There's different tracks you can follow, different testing, what's the word I'm looking for? Testing groups.
Yeah.
So I did the Court of Master Sommeliers, passed my certified. I also did the WSET, Wine Spirits Education Trust, and did their level 3. So there's all kinds of ways to learn. And the reason I took those is not to show off my pin or show off my certification. It's because you're constantly learning.
Right.
You'll never learn it all. There's always something. And if I don't have sort of a test to take at the end of it, I might fall off track. So it kind of keeps the ball rolling for me. Not so much, for any sort of clout. I mean, certainly I am proud of both of those. But, I know one of the best wine people in the world who is knowledgeable about Burgundy has never taken an exam. But he is such an expert. He's written books. He makes his own wine. You do it in the way you want to.
Right. Yeah. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And I was going to go back to ask you about, so you said you did a harvest in California and in France. Old world, new world.
Yes.
So differences in the way that they harvest, or
no? So it's interesting. Well, for this particular situation. So the folks that I was friends with in California, their winery is called Donkey and Goat. They're more of a natural style of winemaking. They learned through a gentleman named Eric Texier, who's in the Rhone Valley. So they connected me with him. So they learned through him. Now, that being said, I have visited many other wineries in Napa, and they're worlds different than how we did it in France, or even Donkey and Goat does it. So those particular situations were very similar. And it was so interesting because it was all so hands-off in a way. They let the grapes do the work. And I remember being so nervous going to France, living with this winemaker and his family for almost a month, and one of the first things I said, we kind of went into what looked like a little garage, and I was like, oh my gosh, he makes wine in here? And there was a barrel fermenting, and he said, oh, we're trying something new with this and the fermentation, and I said, well, how long do you think that'll take? He said, when it's done. Oh. When it's done. Because in France, they have a different approach. They are not varietally, what's the word I'm looking for? They are not into all the varietals. They're into their place, you know? He's not saying, oh, we have X percent of this grape, X percent of this grape. He says, no, we're here in this area, in this land, and we want to express what's happening here.
So it's more about the love than
more about the love
and making the dollar, or
that, yes, and I think he actually did one time send a tech sheet to an American company, and the percentages were off, and they freaked out. Wait, it's not adding to 100% what's in there. And he was like, who cares? Like, these are the grapes I put in the wine. This is expressing my vision and my sense of place, and let's just enjoy it. He's like, you Americans.
I know.
But that was really interesting. And yes, it is hard work, the picking in the vineyards and the the work in the winery, and then the cleaning, and then the bottling. I mean, it's so much work.
Yeah, because you have to worry about all of the contaminations and things that creep in that you don't know. But that's what brings it to flavor, right?
Terroir. It's all important. Sense of place. All the things are very important and go into that bottle.
Yeah. So what brought you to this area?
Oh, it's a long story that I'll make quick. Well, my family is here, so they have been here. I have been coming here for over a decade to visit. It's like a second family. And then I was fortunate to live in San Francisco. I did Boston for about 10 years, and then I went to New York City for 5 years. I sort of was a city girl, but I just enjoyed just being able to do so many things.
Well, you love food, you love wine, that's New York's the place to be.
Yes, well, in San Francisco, being near the wineries, and so I did all of that. And of course, once again, as my mother would say, oh, you should come here and start something here. Oh, no, it's too small. I would never do that. Don't say no to your mother. COVID.
Yeah.
Right? So 2020 happens. We all lost our jobs in New York City in the restaurant industry. And I just sort of took a hard look at what I wanted out of my life and what direction I was going. And when everything picked back up again, was I ready to start over and start the hustle from scratch again and building up. And it just felt like I was in the right time and place to do my own thing. And so hence this cute little property where the store is. And I came to see my mom in June of 2020 and just kept going back and forth by the property, and I wasn't working.
It was calling to you.
It was calling to me. And I thought about it before, but I have no time. I'm so busy. I have no time. Well, I have all the time in the world now. And I said, I'm going to do it. And people thought it was crazy, how you can't be entrepreneurial in this time. Like the world's falling apart, businesses are closing. But wine retail was really doing great.
Yeah.
So I did it.
Yeah. And we're very glad. So I walk into your store and I see just this beautiful, the racks, the display, and Marguerite Jeunesse artwork on the walls. It's very inviting.
Yeah, thank you.
And So you're going to be having some outdoor seating?
Yes, so this is when the real fun begins.
Okay.
So we're waiting for the sun to come out and stay out, and then we'll be opening outside. So there's a nice large deck, and then there's a beautiful yard in the front. We've got gardens planned out. We're going to do
wonderful.
outdoor seating, serve wines by the glass, cheese, probably some sandwiches. So I'd like for people to come for lunch.
Yeah.
And again, sort of this new post-COVID world, this model still really fits. It just by design is what it was, because the service will all be outside, and then you can shop for wine on the inside.
That's
so
great.
A little bit for everybody.
Yeah.
And as mentioned, my mom is the artist, so hopefully we'll do some paint and sip classes, and we'll definitely have lots of wine tastings, wine classes we'll do. And I want it to just be a nice community place. I want people to come, relax, enjoy, say hello to one another, and have it feel like just warm and welcoming.
Well, that's a great.
Yeah.
You're more than halfway there already. So it's a lot of work, and you have a 1-year-old. So that balance now is
It's crazy.
She's a beauty.
Thank you. Yes, baby Elodie. Hi, little Elodie. You'll see this someday. So that was my 2020 curveball. So as I was planning to move and to do all of this, she came into the picture. So that delayed things probably by about a year, which is fine because she did just turn 1 on Sunday.
Yeah.
Just so hard to believe.
It
goes so fast. So I joke that 2020, everything just stopped. The world stopped. And then 2021 was like, here we go.
Yeah.
Here's a business. Here's a baby. Here's a new place to live. Here's a new community. But it's been great.
Well, you're doing really well.
Thank you.
You're doing really well at it.
Yeah, thank you.
So if I was so I'm at your store. I'm you.
Yeah.
A wine rep comes in.
Yeah.
So what happens? What
Depends
happens?
on
So
who
you're the
they're-
wine rep.
yeah.
Okay. So can you take us through, like, just someone comes in with I have a new product for you to try.
Yeah.
So how does that go?
It depends on the time of year and the time of day. If it's the summer and it's busy, we say, no.
Okay.
But it's been slow, and I'm growing, so I welcome these visits right now. And it's great. That's one of the perks of the job, you know, being able to try things. And so they have a new product, and so interesting for me, you know, even as a sommelier working in restaurants on the floor, yes, I suggest things that I love, and people talk about food, and we do that. Here, you know, it's not about what I love. This is a store for everybody. So for me, it's just kind of assessing quality. Is this actually a sound wine? I may not like it, but it doesn't matter to me, you know. But if it's a wine that I think it's made really well, and again, for me, it's about the story. And I told my distributors kind of up front that, you know, don't bring me something you think is cool. Like, why is it cool? Who are the people? Where are they from? What's happening with it? Because I want to connect to it, and I want people to connect to it.
Right.
So I want to be a fun, comfortable place where people come, pick out a bottle, we can talk about it. Or if you don't feel like talking, you can just come and pay and, you know, whatnot. So I always welcome anyone to come in, and, you know, if they have something interesting and they're, you know, and sometimes it's a good break in the day. Yeah. Especially towards the end of the day. Yeah. Hey, we've got some wine open. Perfect timing. Let's do it.
So you pour a glass and you swirl it.
Yeah.
And you sip it.
So in the sommelier world, we would look. And why people talk about the legs and whatnot. To be honest, in a restaurant setting,
this is water, by the way.
It is water. In a sommelier setting, we analyze sort of the legs and whatnot just to get a sense of the wine, right? About its alcohol. Is there a lot of color in the skin? In a restaurant setting, it really is not important. I see people doing this. I'm like, what are you looking for in there? Yeah. That looks interesting. And unless somebody really knows wine, it can do that analysis. But I always say, don't even worry about that. And you smell, and that's the first thing that triggers your senses. And we know what smells good and doesn't. Yeah. That has nothing to do with the wine.
It smells like water.
Maine.
Smells like Maine.
Yeah. And we know what smells good and what doesn't, or what smells right and what doesn't. And you know, when somebody takes a sniff and they're like, it's like, all right, something's not right with you. And I'm not going to say, well, that's the way the wine is made and that's what it tastes like. No, if you don't like it, we're not giving it to you.
Right.
Well, Betsy, what do you think? Is it okay? By your face, it's not okay for you. It doesn't matter what I think. Right. So you smell and you're like, wow, that smells incredible. I want some more, you know? And then if we want to go through the whole thing, we take a little sip, kind of, you know, swish it around the mouth. I'm a big fan of feeling wine. Good, tastes good. Great, we know that.
Yeah.
I want to know what's going on in my salivary glands. Like, is there some tingling going on? That's acidity, and that makes me want to eat, right? Is it dry? Is it like drying out my tongue? That's tannin, right? And that big tannin is so great with fatty food. That makes me want a burger.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then we can, and sugar, sweetness, you know, that's a tough one because a wine can be fruity and be dry at the same time. But, you know, you can feel sort of some residual sugar sometime, that little bit of cloying feeling. It doesn't happen often unless you know you're having sweet wine.
Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of just sit with it and I'm like, okay, this is going, or maybe it's drying, or maybe it's like really refreshing. And then I think, what do I want to eat, right? It's a very simple approach to wine pairing in my world.
Yeah.
I think people can get over technical with it. I think at the end of the day, everybody inherently knows.
Right. It comes down to your palate, what you
like. But we also know, again, I always say, you know, take a sip of this wine, swish it around. And I always say, if you could eat anything in the world right now, what would you eat? And I let people kind of sit and think about it.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we just had this big, heavy, tannic red. Are you craving oysters? Probably not. Are you craving a burger? Yeah. And so I just, you know, I let people come to their own conclusions without thinking about any of the rules.
Yeah.
Right? But that's my thing. I'm all about wine and texture because the flavors we know. We like it. Maybe we don't. But, you know.
You taught me about the throwaway sip. So my friend Margaret and I are always talking, okay, took a sip, we're going to throw that one away, and then we take the next sip, and there's a difference.
Yes. So it's kind of priming your palate. And you could throw it away or you could just...
Well, we drink it. But
don't think about it. Because I think like anything, you know, for example, whatever has gone on your day, whatever you've eaten during the day, all of these things can influence the first sip. So we just say you have the sip, you drink it, kind of prime your palate, then go back. Now you've already conditioned, you know, your mouth, if you will, and then take another taste and then see how it is. And it is a little different. But that's the same thing with food, too.
Yes, I definitely noticed that. So if I take that second sip or the third sip, after I've had a little bite of cheese, again, very different.
Yes.
So,
well, it's fun
amazing.
and it's never ending.
Yeah.
There's endless combinations, and they're so different for everybody. That's why the rules in my mind don't really exist. It all is what makes you feel good.
I think it's such a great approach.
Yeah.
Because it can, sometimes you think that's way, beyond me. I'm a real-needy person. When you're not. But maybe that's your taste. But,
Sure.
You think that, a $10 bottle or a $20 bottle is like, I won't appreciate it.
Yeah.
So... my husband says that sometimes, like, you drink it, you appreciate it more. And it's like, no, you have to appreciate, it's going to be different for you. But we have found some wines that we like to enjoy together. But then there's other ones where I can't stand it, or maybe he can't stand it or something. So I like your approach because everybody is different. And I think sometimes I'm in a very similar business to you because... You look at a label, you look at the author, the story, where it's coming from. You want people to enjoy it, but they're not all going to enjoy it.
Of course.
So I think, geez, it's like, it's a very similar profession. Don't you think, Mike?
Well, it is similar. And also, you also have a wonderful place with a bunch of labels. Well, not everybody's going to know behind that label
And it's
unless
up to
you
us.
introduce them to it.
Yeah.
So it is very similar.
Yeah,
in that
I
way.
like that. No wonder I like wine so much.
Right? What's behind the label? And I love labels. I love looking at labels, and I love decoding the labels. Like, what does this mean? Why is this picture on here?
Yeah.
What did it mean to the winemaker?
Yeah.
Again, it's all connected back to that story,
Yeah.
which I love to tell. So,
Yeah.
but I do want to touch on price for a moment. And, I think people still think a more expensive bottle is a better bottle.
Right.
But back to what we talked about before with weather conditions, that the prices rise because they have to make a living.
Right.
So price isn't always reflective on, and it's also could be rare. So it doesn't mean that it's good. It just means that maybe it's a smaller production or, a more rare wine. I think somebody asked me once, this Bordeaux from 1982, iconic vintage, should we pay, $1,000 for this? And I said, tell me what you know about that property. What do you know about the chateau? Well, I don't know. It's 1982. Isn't it going to be great? I said, don't buy it. Because at that point, you really are drinking a story. You're drinking history. You're drinking sort of not something that's going to taste good. But if you're not interested in sort of the development and who they are, don't spend the money.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and that's the same with the $20, $30 buy. I mean, I in my store often guide people to under 20 because there's such good value.
There
There's
is
such good stuff out
Yeah,
there.
yeah, there
And
is.
that's what I like to buy too.
Right.
So
So, but, for special occasion, and somebody told me once, Tuesday's a special occasion. So we...
Taco Tuesday,
Is-
special occasion.
Exactly. But, I think sometimes we get caught up in that.
We do.
Right? So, because it's, you don't think that, spending that money is...
Right.
But I have found that life's too short these days to not think about, just if it's something that speaks to you or something that you think I should try, that's the way to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know there are amazing producers that make amazing wine that is really pricey. And I would spend it on a special occasion knowing that, it's going to be right for that time.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's better than the other
Right,
bottle
right,
that I might
right.
choose to drink the night before.
Right,
It's just
right.
in a different context.
Yeah, exactly. So towards the end of our interview, we do a little bit of a rapid fire answers. Are you game for that?
I am.
Okay, all right.
I hope I'm ready.
All right. But one thing I forgot to ask you before, though, as far as if I was going to, I wanted to learn a little bit more about wine, is there a book out there that I could go to that would teach me a little bit about?
I love the Windows on the World, so
Okay.
Kevin Zraly. That was the book that really got me into wine. If you're just starting out, or even not, there's such incredible pictures and stories, and it's so easy to understand. It's approachable, it makes sense, and if you're a visual learner, that's there. If you're not, that's there. I mean, it's just a wealth of knowledge in such an approachable way that I give that to people. I have it in my store. I love that book.
So you have copies of that for sale?
We
there.
do,
Okay,
yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
Wine Folly.
Yeah. Oh gosh, love that too.
Okay, that's kind of a fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, that's also so great. But I think I started with the other book.
Yeah.
But
I did too, and so, but
I
I found
love,
I found the other one, and it's the Windows on the World is just it's such a special.
Yes. Of
even
course.
more now.
Yep,
So
absolutely. But Wine Folly is incredible.
okay,
Also
so
great.
We have both. I think we have both here at the library.
Yeah,
So, but you
great.
have the Windows book at your store.
I do.
That's great. Okay, you ready for the rapid?
Here we go.
Okay, so do you have a favorite color?
Yes. Purple.
Purple. Favorite movie?
Oh gosh. So back in the day, The Lost Boys.
That's okay. Favorite ice cream?
Oh my goodness. Oreo cookie.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Particularly
very good.
from Dairy Queen in blizzard
Now,
form.
what wine would go with that?
Oh, now. Good question. I don't know. Honestly, I would pick something juicy with not too much tannin, and I don't know, maybe like a juicy Shiraz or something.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Favorite restaurant? Doesn't have to be around
so
here.
Tough. I know. That is so tough. My gosh, I have a million in my head. Actually, just downstairs, I was browsing your bookstore, and I am getting a cookbook from Zuni Cafe. So Zuni Cafe in San Francisco is legendary. They make the best chicken on the planet. And it's wonderful. I used to go for brunches, and then, of course, wonderful dinners. Yes,
Good to
Zuni
know.
is up there
Okay.
for sure.
And that's still open?
It's still open.
Good. What's the coolest place you've ever been?
Portugal.
And what about why?
I think because I didn't have many expectations of it. I was a little nervous about visiting, and I just didn't know much about it, and I wasn't really connected with the wine culture there. There was something about it. And then when I went, the food was incredible. The people were lovely. We got to go to the island of Madeira, which was so unique, and visit all these Madeira houses. And it is so much history there. And they have so much pride about their land and their culture and who they are and where they came from. They're not just giving you a tour, look at our grapes and our vineyards and our winery. They are telling you about like generations and generations back. I fell in love. And, yeah, love it.
And there's a real pride. There's a real pride when it comes to, it seems like anyway, the wine. We've tried that on one of our wine Zooms, which is usually the third Thursday of every month. If you want to join in, anyone is welcome.
Yes.
And but when you talked about Portugal, when we did that, was it 2 months ago? I think that really came out to me that was a big sense of pride in their product.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah, so
it's great.
What is your favorite vacation spot? Would that also be Portugal or something different?
Think so, actually. I am not so much, even though I live in a beach community, I'm not so much for the sun and the beach. If I could go away on vacation, I would be in a cabin in the woods somewhere. I would just go somewhere where there's hiking and perhaps a lake and a little rustic cabin and just that has no service.
Good for you.
Shut it all off. And just enjoy nature, the clean air, and walking.
Oh, that sounds
That's
really lovely.
Yeah.
With a few bottles of...
Well, of course.
So, just a little bit more information about the wine house.
Yes.
You are open...
I'm open right now, Tuesday through Saturday, from 12 to 6 for the shop. And then hoping all goes well, to open outside in May.
Oh, great.
And in which case we'll be open 7 days a week.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So do you need any volunteers to come in?
Yes.
Okay. So our producer, Mike Kelly, and I are going to sign up for that duty.
But truly, we would, you know, to kind of get to practice, to get up and running our menu and things like that. You will know.
Oh,
you'll be on that list. For
excellent.
Sure.
Always our last question. Do you have a favorite library?
Is that a trick question?
I don't know. We just throw that one in there.
So in all honesty, I really will speak to this because I have not had a library card probably since I was in high school. I'm not sure. I lived in New York City. They had the grand libraries there, and they're beautiful, and they're just so, historical, but slightly overwhelming. And you go as like a museum. Mm-hmm. When I moved here, it was 2020, still in the heart of quarantine and pandemic. Yeah. I got a library card for the first time in however long, and I love the cozy feel here. I obviously love the people here, but truly, this is such a special place and everything that goes on here, and I'm so thankful that we got to do these wine Zooms and be part of the community here. This truly is special beyond just books.
Wow. So, we thank you for that. Yeah. And we thank you for all the time that you and Lonnie Dietz spend every month with us. Yes. It is so much fun for a whole group of us to learn more. Yeah. And, through the pandemic, that was something that I know a lot of us looked forward to. And now that, we're getting out there a little more, we still want to join in that third Thursday every month and learn more. So
so great.
So we really appreciate all your time
Of course.
and what you do
Yeah.
and the stories that you bring to us. So thank you for being on our show.
Thank
you
you.
to our producer Mike Kelly for
Thank you.
always being here to run the behind the scenes. So we are going to visit the wine house on Main. Is there a number?
17 Main.
17 Main. It's tucked back.
It's tucked back.
So,
little red house tucked back. Can blink and miss it, but there's also a beautiful sign hanging out front.
Yes.
That my mother painted.
Oh, I wonder who might have
helped
painted
too.
that.
Yeah.
I kind of thought she might
Yeah.
have. So.
I painted the letters.
Oh, okay.
She drew them and I painted them in.
Well, it's a great sign. It's such a great house. So
Thank you.
thanks for being with us tonight.
thanks
Thank
for
you
having
for being
me.
with us tonight. And we hope to see you next time right here on What's Your Story?